Ми поговорили про НАТО, ми поговорили про співпрацю України з НАТО. Тепер давайте повернемося до більш таких, я б сказав, прагматичних питань, пов'язаних із національною військовою стратегією або воєнною доктриною України. Я з великим задоволенням хотів би надати слово нашому гостю, нашому колезі з Угорського інституту міжнародних справ Угорщини, пану Ласло Поті, який буде виступати на тему «Розвиток національної військової стратегії Угорщини у світлі вступу до ЄС та НАТО. Уроки для України». Будь ласка, пане Ласло.
Thank you for the floor. I need some technical help in order to begin my presentation because I put together a PowerPoint. Should I push the button here as well? Or, oh yeah. Yes. And could you start it? It will be the... Yes, so what I'm going to do today is I will speak about the evolution of the Hungarian national military strategy. I'm going to do it in four separate points. First, I give you a quick snapshot about the strategic documents since the independence of Hungary. I would like to put into international context the Hungarian national military strategy. Then I would like to outline the main points of it, and in the end to draw some possible lessons for Ukraine. If you want to have an idea about the sequence of events, how strategic documents were adopted in Hungary, it is on the slide. You can make your own conclusions what this slide means for you. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that practically in the first 10-12 years nothing serious or nothing conceptually structurally interesting happened. Basic principles were drafted in some way or another in the form of parliamentary resolutions, and then all of a sudden in the beginning from 2002 a number of strategic documents were adopted. The first ever national security strategy was adopted only 12 years after Hungary's independence. And the first ever national military strategy only happened to be adopted in 2009. Once again, this slide is just to give you an idea that the story of the adoption since our independence of different strategic documents was not the story of a very logical, very consistent, and in time and timely process. If you want to go back in time to the 90s, I want to make two quick points. In the three documents that were adopted in 93 and 98, the evolution was going on from the emphasis on NATO as a security guarantor to Hungary. Paradoxically enough, in the early 90s, EU was regarded as the primary security guarantor of Hungary, and later towards Hungary's invitation to access NATO in the second half of the 90s, NATO came to the fore in this regard. Second interesting point throughout the 90s is that the emphasis from the problems of transition in the region shifted more to global problems towards the end of the 90s. If we come closer to our current 1.5 decade, I want to mention two interesting moments in connection with how The first ever Hungarian national security strategy was adopted in 2002. It happened during the elections to the Parliament of Hungary. The elections were held in 2 rounds, and this major document was adopted between 2 rounds of the elections, when the outgoing government understood that it would be kicked out of office. I want to make this point because this is a nonsense. To adopt a consensual, ideally a consensual document in a way that you understand you are losing your government position and you quickly adopt it in a matter of a week. What did the incoming government did? They immediately put aside the not too long ago adopted document between the 2 rounds of elections, and they immediately started their own, to create their own. The message of both cases, in my understanding, is that those documents had limited legitimacy as they were adopted in a very strange political game. Okay. Well, I put on this slide certain characteristic features of the first national security strategies of Hungary in the first years of the 2000. My main point here is that in these documents, EU and NATO are basically treated as equally important actors providing Hungary's security. All the other characteristic features are not so interesting from the point of view of our talk, but they are on the screen. I would like to make a quick step aside, or to go to the point dealing with putting the Hungarian military strategy in an international context. And what I am going to do is I make a quick comparison of the Hungarian security strategy I have just spoken about with the European security strategy. Okay, this is a document 1 level up the military strategies. I will quickly compare the structure, the threat perception, and the perception of the international order of these documents. On the slide, you can see in the first column the European security strategy of 2003, and in the other column the Hungarian security strategy. The structure seems to be more or less the same, follows the same logic. The difference comes as to the threat perception. Also, they are more or less, they reflect the same perception. Terrorism is on the first place. The proliferation of weapons of mass destruction figure in the second place. Regional conflicts or unstable regions are also of the focus of both documents, and state failure or failed states is there. So the threat perception comes very, very close, both in its priority and in its structure in both documents. When it comes to the perception of the international order, one can identify certain important nuances. To make the most important point, the Hungarian document tends to be more Atlantic and less, so to say, European oriented. The Hungarian security strategy speaks more mildly about the relevance of international law in handling international affairs. The Security Council of the United Nations is also formulated. The role of this institution is formulated in a different manner as it is formulated. The European document says the Security Council has the primary responsibility, while the Hungarian document says it is not exclusive, the responsibility. In the Hungarian document you don't find the need for effective multilateralism. That is a key European notion in the otherwise non-existing European security culture, but this is a notion one uses a lot. Also, you can identify differences on the role of NATO and the US position in the world. Now I will turn to a study that was published last year. It's called Europe's Strategic Cacophony. It was put together by the, help me if I'm wrong, European Council on Foreign Relations by two guys. It examined the national military strategies or security strategies of all kinds of EU member states, altogether 27 states documents. And what they have found that there was no coherent strategic vision among the examined documents. They were either outdated or too general, but and you could not single out one European kind of pattern how to write a security strategy or a military strategy. Besides that, what they did, they classified EU member states in 6 different groups. You can find the groups on the slide. One group was named the Grand Strategist. France and Great Britain are the examples of this group, who have ground vision in the world, and they have the military capability to use it globally. They identified the strategists. Examples of this group are Sweden and Czech Republic, who have a narrower scope of global ambition, a narrower capability for that. Then comes the group of globalists, Germany, Spain, and interestingly enough, Hungary happens to be in this group. The main characteristic feature of this group is that it lists very well, in a concise way, the security threats globally, but it renders no specific means how to handle those global security threats. And then you can also find other interesting groups like the localists, those who the abstentionists, who are basically the neutral countries, and some drifters. I would like to come back to the proper topic of mine, that is, I would like to underline the main points of the current national military strategy of Hungary. The first point I would like to make is it follows a proper hierarchy. It follows a freshly adopted constitution. After the constitution, a national security strategy was adopted, and the national military strategy followed this line. So there is a very fine coherence between the major top strategic documents. Second, important characteristic feature of the current Hungarian national military strategy is that it avoids prioritization between NATO and the EU. It handles the two institutions equally in the text of the strategy. As far as the use of military force is concerned, the formula is on the screen. The document says that it may happen that in a region of conflict, military force can be used, and as far as the specific threat against Hungary and its allies is concerned, the document says that a conventional attack is negligible, a non-conventional is of low probability. Further points to be underlined in connection with the strategy is that the Hungarian military strategy is based on two pillars, on sovereign national force and on allied cooperation. The relation between the two is that the sovereign national force should be able to resist any outside attack until the arrival of allied forces within the spirit of collective defense. As far as the international operations are concerned, the document specifically formulates the aim that the Hungarian armed forces should be able to act in the full spectrum of operations internationally, and 1,000 troops should be able to be present internationally at a given moment. Lessons for Ukraine. I must tell you, this is the toughest task after this quick snapshot about the domestic and international context and the evolution of my country's military strategy. As I mentioned, although EU is mentioned 17 times in this 9 pages long document, you cannot identify any EU-wise specific moments that made the Hungarian national military strategy this or that way. The EU is present, but the presence of the EU in this military thinking or in the strategic document does not mean that this document was written according to one given pattern. You can understand this point both negatively or positively. My positive understanding is that any member of the EU or any country that cooperates closely with the EU is not forced to follow one specific prescribed your own national force. You have to keep it and develop it because it's an essential component of your national security. There is no duplication between the engagement towards NATO and the engagements towards the EU. That's also an important moment. Next point that could be made, that paradoxically enough, when Hungary happened to be in NATO and later in EU, it has come closer to global affairs, which is good and bad news at the same time. Hungary happened to be a possible target of international terrorism after entering NATO and the EU. It never happened so, but potentially the threat was there. But at the same time, being part of these two clubs gave the possibility to express your own views and efforts on global issues as well. I have not touched upon in this presentation the problem of resources and the share of defense expenditure in the GDP. It is in the written version of the study, but once again a point could be made that no matter you are a member of NATO or EU, the share of the GDP dedicated to defense needs is exclusively up to the political leadership and the political elite or to the individual country. There is no coercion in this regard. I would like to sum up my presentation by simply then reminding us that strictly in terms of writing a national military strategy, what is the best lesson, what could be provided for Ukraine or for any other country, is that you have to follow a nice priority among your strategic documents. These documents should be very consistent. The national military strategy should be a long-term one, should be comprehensive, and there should be a unity of the aims and the means and the resources you want to allocate for these purposes. Thank you very much for your attention.
Спасибі велике за вашу презентацію. У мене є одразу два такі, можливо, короткі запитання. Перше запитання, враховуючи текст і те, що ви нам розповіли, у вас є чітке визначення, хто є ворогами Угорщини? З ким ви збираєтесь, або, скажімо, кого ви розглядаєте в якості ворогів? І друге питання, воно вже більш безпосередньо відноситься до нинішньої ситуації. Зважаючи на ситуацію навколо України, ви будете переглядати свою військову стратегію чи ні?
Should I answer immediately? Yes. Not surprisingly, the Hungarian national military strategy belongs to that group of documents that explicitly expresses that we do not envisage, do not see any enemy, do not take any state as an a priori enemy of Hungary. That should be always the political message. You have to read the list of different threats, and they are the traditional ones, beginning with regional instability, terrorism, WMD, etc. And then you have the list of threats, but they are no enemies in the form of a given state or so. As far as the possible changes in the Hungarian threat perception, yes, I can confirm that most recently some commemorations in connection with Hungary's membership, 15 years of membership in NATO and the forthcoming 10 years in the EU are about to take place in Hungary. And in this connection, our foreign minister and defense minister have already expressed their views that probably we should rethink our military strategies. We should not completely forget about territorial defense. We have to refresh our memories in this context. They have not elaborated more on this issue, but both politicians have expressed these views. I can confirm it. I personally would wait a little bit. I would not like to see a quickly refreshed document of a strategic kind that has to foresee at least from 5 to 10 years. It should not be done under current political impressions, but that does not mean I don't take seriously enough what's going on in Ukraine and by Russia.
Дякую. Будь ласка, Віктор Іванович.
Я так понимаю, что Ласло понимает русский язык, поэтому я буду говорить по-русски, чтобы легче было контактировать. Я с большим интересом прослушал то, что вы сказали. Честно говоря, как-то не было у меня такого более полного впечатления, которое доклад Кеннета и ваш дали. Хотя я в НАТО, в штабе НАТО в Эвере был еще зимой 90-го года, в начале 90-го года. Но как-то не было времени выучить, познакомиться глубже. Вы понимаете, иногда мне кажется, что натовцы и американцы тоже, в особенности, они не смотрят российское телевидение. А я бы рекомендовал смотреть. Потому что за последние минимум 3-5 лет в нем резко увеличилось количество художественных фильмов, хороших фильмов, интересных, рассказывающих о хороших, о добрых императорах. Александр III, и другие. И вообще много материала. То есть о тех людях, которые создавали Российскую империю. Там даже недавно был фильм хороший о Павле Первом императоре, который у нас по истории, это был вообще, помните, у нас какой-то дурак дураком, негодяй и так далее. Один момент, то есть Кроме того, ну я не жил при Александре Третьем, не пришлось. Но при Брежневе я жил. И когда вдруг появился недавно большой, мощный художественный фильм «Леонид Брежнев», я был вообще в шоке. Этому человеку можно место только в какой-то жесткой хронике, в жестких исторических исследованиях. Они сделали громадный фильм, я представляю, сколько у него вбахали туда, забабахали денег. Все. То есть, вот НАТО, по-моему, не учитывает тот момент, что в России, ну уже сколько, несколько лет подряд, ведется подготовка общественного мнения о том, что Российская империя была сильная, мудрая, великая и так далее, и так далее, и так далее. А вот то, что произошло, это как бы там какие-то там происки там, то ли американского империализма, то ли еще кого-то. И вы, наверное, не обращали внимания на то, что Путина в Москве, в России не очень любят, мягко выражаясь. Но его действия в отношении Украины поддержало, по-моему, минимум 2/3 россиян в вопросах, да? Вот Григорий меня подтвердил. Если не больше, ну там что-то большое количество. Да, вот-вот, понимаете? Вот это надо, поэтому вот ваша информация, Ласло, была, конечно, весьма полезная, вот, но я думаю, что нам нужно просто действовать, ну, быстрее, энергичнее, вот в данной ситуации, что сложилось. Спасибо большое.
Ми беремо це як коментар, да, і будемо рухатись далі. В процесі обговорення, тоді, якщо пан Ласло захоче, він тоді відреагує на це.